It's a pleasure for me to be here with Jay Silva, who's the CEO and co-founder of Makey Makey. Jay, a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks a lot.
And, one of the stories that you have some extraordinary success here that I'd like to share with the people watching this is recently you did an off-the-chart successful Kickstarter campaign. But before we jump into that, tell me what Makey Makey is and how you came up with the idea. And then I want to talk about how you got it funded.
Okay, well, Makey Makey is a small circuit that lets you hook anything up in the world as a user interface. So whether it is water or graphite on a paper that you draw with a regular pencil, or like a cat or anything like that, you hook that thing up to the circuit, and then the circuit communicates to the computer when those different objects are touched. So it lets those objects become user interfaces. And all you have to do is alligator clip to get that going. So it was really meant to have a really low floor. So really anyone can participate. On the back of the Makey Makey is a more complicated interface with female headers and access to an Arduino-like programming style, as well as an output female header to drive motors and lights. So all that is on there, but we kind of bill it as just an invention kit for everyone. And people use it from designers all the way down to like 8-year-old kids.
And you created Makey Makey out of the MIT Media Lab.
Yeah, when we were students there, we did the research and then launched it at Media Lab from the Lifelong Kindergarten group.
So, I mean, basically this was your passion to help people become inventive and be creative. And
totally.
And, was this something that you were sort of like a circuit and an idea that you guys were just playing around with, and you said at one point this would be a great product?
Well, it's bottom up and top down at the same time. So yes, we were just playing around with tons of different technologies just so we always knew what was possible. But at the same time, I had put a lot of other products on the market already, such as Drawdio and Singing Fingers. And from those, I started to develop a thesis or kind of a big idea that the world is a construction kit, because in fact the world is a construction kit, but most products don't point to that. Most products have you living within their ecosystem, or they have APIs out to kind of other products. But we said, no, like the whole world you live in, nature, man-made, what's in your refrigerator, all that stuff. It's a construction kit, and we're going to tell a story about that. And that story is going to have a product to back it up.
So how long did it take from the first moment you guys came up with the idea to saying we're going to productize this? How long was that process?
Good question. So 6 years ago was the first time that I started working a lot with human skin to skin and human skin to nature interactions through what I call high resistance sensing. I don't know if that's the official name for it. I've just been calling it that. I don't know if it's been invented 1,000 times before, but it's rare enough that I just said, this is what I think it should be called. And I started playing around with it with the Drawdio circuit. And about 3 years ago, I said, okay, I'm not a guy to like digital connections. I like analog and messiness. And so I never thought that I would like put out a circuit that just has on and off. But we realized that through the power of being able to control a computer and having enough on and off switches, which is what Makey Makey has, is about 18 on and off switches. If you can control any program on a computer with it, then the possibilities are actually pretty exponential. And so that was about 3 years ago that we first had that specific idea. We didn't know that it would look like a game controller yet.
And we have one here.
So we didn't know it would look like this. Well, I guess I should get one out now that we're talking about it.
Sure.
And we actually thought it would look like a keyboard because it's mimicking a keyboard. So I actually took the idea to Nathan Seidel from SparkFun and pitched it to him one day because they would have the ability to manufacture it really fast and get it out without waiting at all or even thinking, basically. And I said, okay, it'll look like a keyboard, and I just had a mess of wires and said, okay, look, here's what we can do. We can take Play-Doh and control Pac-Man. We can play one-button games by rigging up a controller on my shoe on the fly, like all this kind of stuff. And he said, okay, but if you want to get this out to the world, it can't be an 80 connection keyboard. This has to be manufacturable and cheap. And I'm like, well, I agree with that. So he's like, come back to me with a 4 connection product. And I was like, oh man, 4, that's not enough. So I went back and I was thinking, and just a day later I sketched on a piece of paper just to like basically like a game controller. And so we stuck with that. There's 6 buttons on the front, and we snuck 12 back on the back there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, when you said, at some point you said we need to raise the money to manufacture this.
Yeah.
And what was your estimate of how much money you guys needed to get the company going and to manufacture that?
We just thought we need to make 1,000 of these to get any economies of scale. 5,000 is a great break point for parts, but 1,000 is kind of your first big break point. And so if we want to get this out cheap, which we originally thought cheap was everything, we thought we want these in the hands of people. Ideally, just anyone who wants one can get one. And then we also wanted to have like a buy one, get one, or give one, get one program, so that even people who kind of couldn't buy them, at least some people would be able to get some. So we thought cheap was everything at the time. So
and what was cheap in your mind?
Well, in my mind, cheap was like $29.99 or $30 basically.
Okay.
That because ideally $20 would have been great, but what happened was because people are willing to, like, research shows that people are willing to spend $20 on anything.
Okay.
So 30 is the next break point, and that's the only thing we thought we could do reasonably. So we aimed for 30, and then we spec'd things out, and we ended up doing 35, including shipping, which is kind of like 30.
Yeah. And so the amount of money you looked to raise initially was how much money?
Well, we wanted to make, how much was it? We wanted to sell 1,000 of these things. So something like, I think we said $25,000. Really, we were hoping to get 35,000, but we thought we could work with 25,000 and up.
So you decided to use a Kickstarter campaign to raise that money. Talk about that that decision.
Kickstarter's amazing. The reason we used Kickstarter wasn't because we couldn't have gone to market without it. SparkFun was already going to manufacture our thing. But we thought that we're not just selling a product, we're selling kind of like an idea. The world is a construction kit. Well, how do you sell an idea? Well, ideas can be in products. That's why we designed this the way it is, and that's why when you open it, it says, be stoked, because that's more important. It's just being alive and being happy about being alive and being excited about the process you're taking part in. Oh, there's this famous quote, don't figure out what the world needs and do that. Figure out what will make you come alive and do that, because what the world needs is basically everybody to have come alive.
Yeah.
Or just at least you, anyways. And then under that it says the world is your construction kit. And that's not to sell it. That's kind of like after you get it and you open it, it's like, by the way. And so in the campaign, we're telling a story.
Yeah. So
we're selling a story.
So you set a target of $25,000 for your Kickstarter campaign, and I assume that your goal was not only to raise cash, but also to get help promote and market this.
Yeah, promote it and market it, definitely. And also to provide the support material and the backstory to what is just a product by itself is not as powerful as a product with a feeling that you're participating in something. So
you set $25,000 target, and what was your game plan? Did you, what did you do to get ready for your Kickstarter campaign? For someone else who's looking to raise money, what's your advice on getting a Kickstarter campaign that succeeds?
Okay. I mean, there's all kinds of good advice, none of which I followed. So I can give some of that. But I guess my real advice is just to find something that, like I said, just really makes you come alive, that really makes you tingle all over, an idea that you can really stick with. Because I mean, it's 6 months later, and still daily I'm dealing with this. So it's got to be something you really care about, really think will really excite you day to day. So that's the main advice, because as soon as you've got that, the story you're going to tell to people is going to make them excited. There's really no way to get people excited if you're not excited. I mean, you can trick people a little bit, but what's the point? So just really find something good that you just love all the time.
Did you do any? Did you promote the campaign? Did you have any parties?
I recommend doing those things. Yes. But
so your campaign was totally viral, totally unexpected?
I mean, so here's what we did. We made a video, and when I say made a video, I mean for a month, I shot scenes, edited them in my house. I was living at Yogaville at the time. Me and Eric, my co-inventor, he flew out, and for a week we shot scenes. Then for 3 weeks, I reshot things and edited them and got rid of anything that wasn't completely relevant to the exact story, and I didn't use any external editors. I just wanted it to be kind of raw, but I mean, I know how to edit a video, and so I wanted to just seem authentic, and so really made today's coin of communication, like the currency is like short videos. So we really, really worked on that. And then when the day for launch came, we emailed, I think, like 5 blogs, and Facebook did, and Twitter did.
Mm-hmm. And it took off. So talk about what happened with the campaign. What was it like the first day? Where did you guys end up? Talk
That's
about your
hilarious.
experience. Yeah.
Okay, so at about 2 a.m., we're like, okay, it's finally ready. And this is Sunday night, and we're like, you should launch on a Monday. That makes sense. And the Monday before Maker Faire. Yeah, that makes sense. So I launched, and then I got ready to fly out to Open Hardware Conference and Maker Faire. So I launched, and I got on a plane. And I didn't know if it was doing well or not, because I had to get ready and go. So I got on the plane, and when I got off, I had all these text messages like, you're about to exceed your goal. So that was what that moment experience was like. And then, we went to Open Hardware, and everyone was talking about it, and we went to Maker Faire, and our booth was going crazy. And people were offering to buy the company and things like that. And how much would it be to buy the company? And I was like, $30,000 for each 1%. Does that mean you're valuing your company at $3 million? Yeah, that's what that means. That's outrageous. I would never buy. Okay, that's fine. But like 6 months later, people would come back and say, are you still offering that? No, not anymore. So I didn't know what I was doing. It didn't start as a business project. I was aware that there's markets and, business was a factor. And someday I wanted to have a business called Joy Labs that made kind of creativity or mindfulness tools. And so I'm still working on that, but I just thought it would be 5 years down the road. You gotta be reasonable, build these things up. So it just all happened right away, and now we're just scrambling just to keep up, no PR or anything yet.
So how long did the campaign run for?
30 days, and probably if we ran for 60 days, we would have made twice as much. It was pretty linear. So I do have the advice to just run it for a long time. There's this time pressure thing, just let people get involved. Yeah.
And so you shot for $25K originally. What did the campaign finally generate?
I think it was 568,000, but something like that anyway.
Wow. So literally a more than 20x over your target goal.
Yeah, they have something online that says 2,000 something percent. And we really were shooting for 25,000. That was just what we would need to hit some price breaks. And to tell the story, and really a lot of it was about telling the story. I really wasn't the best business person. I turned out to be pretty good at it. I didn't know, but that really, we should have planned more for that.
And tell me about, so since then, how many have you sold in the company?
Yeah, I should have those stats. I have to think about it. It's been about 1,000 a month direct through the web, so that must be another 6,000 or so. Although Christmas is really crazy. I think we sold 100 on what they call Cyber Monday. And we didn't give discounts or anything, just people go crazy on Monday. And then my projections that we're going to sell another 3,000 a month through resellers. So we're talking to Radio Shack, and we have stuff in, like Amazon.com and ThinkGeek, whoever, Maker Shed. Adafruit was really supportive of us, and we're in their store as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The community was really supportive. It really took like 100 people to make this product.
Why do you think your product and campaign did so extraordinarily well? I mean, you made your goal on the first day, and you've gone 2,000-fold above your target.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I think there's the video part.
Yeah.
It was fun and tightly edited, and we had fun making it, so that's apparent. And I think that but more than any of that, I think people are just thirsty for, like, it's a sad day when your table is wobbling and you like go to Walmart to buy a table de-wobbler. We're almost at that point. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a product on the market like that. In the old days, people bought like axes, and what did you use it for? Everything, like a chef's knife. You don't buy a garlic press, you buy a chef's knife, and it works on garlic, but it works on lots of other stuff. And you sharpen it and keep it going. And these kind of multi-purpose tools where really the person using them becomes the agent. The person using them is kind of respected by the tool maker, and the world around them becomes kind of the loose parts that they throw in and use the tool for, and the world again becomes the canvas that they throw the resulting product that they've made. Really, the end product didn't used to be, an axe is not an end product. Mm-hmm. Kind of maybe like wood in a fire might be more like an end product, but you don't buy wood, you buy an axe. So this is just historically humans always consumed, if you want to call it that, tools that allowed them to produce all kinds of things and really use their whole bodies and minds in a way that brought them to life and made them feel like creators, because they were.
So let's take this a slightly different direction.
Okay.
You're a successful entrepreneur who's
Right.
just made your dream come true, probably beyond your expectations.
Yes.
To other entrepreneurs who have something they want to create, build, manufacture, get out there, what are your top couple of pieces of advice here? What would you, if you were going to do it again, what is it that's most important? I'll begin with your number one,
Yeah.
which I heard you say, which is pick a subject and a product or something that you love, that you're passionate
Sure,
about.
that's good, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What else do you think?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that, you need to have something that you don't have to push on people. There's been a big change in marketing since the word public relations got invented, where you make something and then you try to make sure it sells. So maybe just kind of the same kind of things that the 9 Signals people are saying in their new book Rework. I read it and I unfortunately didn't get that much from it, because I'm like, yes, this is exactly how I think things should be done, which is just lean on the fly as you need it, and like manufacture when it's needed, and let marketing like kind of pull you through, and don't make things that people might not want.
So Jay, what are some of the challenges you had fundraising on Kickstarter?
One thing about Kickstarter is that it's not a shopping cart. It's a, I don't know what it is. It's a storyteller. It's a risk taker. It takes the risk away for you. You need to charge things like shipping in with the product, because when you have 13,000 kits to ship and you're trying to collect information from 13,000 people who think they just bought a product, but they didn't. They backed an idea, and later you collect the shipping address, and in some cases for international shipping, people don't add in the money. In our case, like half of people. So then you're trying to find, trying to collect the money from 3,000 people who maybe you don't even have their real email address sometimes. So really include the shipping address, include the shipping cost definitely in what you're charging for, and other than that, like making sure you set realistic goals for when you can deliver. We had to really rush to deliver on time, and we felt that it was important to deliver on time. A lot of people don't worry about that. That's okay, I think. But we thought, people ordered this and we promised it. So set realistic goals. Maybe make your product first. Don't depend on Kickstarter to fund your product, maybe. There are products where it takes a significant amount of capital and you'd have to raise the money first. But if possible, make something that doesn't cost a lot of money and don't depend on Kickstarter.
Sure.
Yeah.
So would you use Kickstarter to fund your project again if you're doing it again, or for your next project?
I'll use Kickstarter again. It was a great community. And Kickstarter, don't make something that nobody wants. And Kickstarter is one great test to see if people want it. So yeah. I would use Kickstarter.
So it really is a market validation and a consumer generation and a financing mechanism all wrapped into one.
I think so, yeah. And people complain, oh, well, if you don't meet your goal, then you don't get the partial amount of money. Well, Kickstarter's not a money-generating thing. You don't want to go into a project if it's not gonna be rolling. So, check if it's rolling. If it's rolling, great. Then you've got funding, and you've already told your story to people. You've been forced to really articulate your story. Otherwise, you might launch and you might not have your story all set. So for someone who doesn't know what they're doing, it's this magical, you don't know what you're doing? That's okay. It's almost like a little school. Organize your ideas, just like all these other people did. Inside out, you can see what everybody else is doing. And then, they'll approve you to launch. But if something's wrong with your story, hey, they'll tell you. And it's really good for people who wouldn't have otherwise been able to do it. My dad was a retailer, my grandpa was a retailer. I thought I would never sell a retail product. But I love making inventions, and I love empowering people to make inventions. So Kickstarter, kind of made that happen through crowdfunding. Otherwise, I would have just launched some things over 5 years or so and kept working my day job.
So it really was a great forcing function to sort of cause you to accelerate your goals and make it all happen in a very rapid time frame.
Yeah, and no risk. I mean, I have a baby, and I want to have a place for my family to live, so I can't just put everything into one thing. I didn't have any money saved up. I have student loans, so just out of nowhere, I was able to do it all.
And it sounds like you've got a fantastic success here.
Yeah, super crazy.
Yeah. Well, Jay Silva, thank you so much for your sharing the story.
Sure.
And really, I think helping inspire other people to take their ideas and products and get them funded, and hopefully follow in your successful footsteps.
Great. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay.
Pleasure.
You too.